Okay, $125,000 a month is the exact number my one-on-one client was able to scale his growth operating client to with near to no experience scaling info products. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing a 20-minute interview that I had with Suyfan. And in this interview, he broke down what makes a good growth operating client, the tactics that we use to help his client get to 125K a month, and where most growth operators or info product scalers go wrong when trying to scale their clients to 7 figures. So without further ado, I'm about to play the 20-minute interview and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm joined here with my client Suyfan and at mobileclients.io, and this is going to be a very special interview. Thank you for coming on, because you recently scaled your client, your growth operating client, which we're going to be going through in this video, to, I believe it was 125K US, which is unbelievable. And we're going to be breaking down, and I'm sure a lot of viewers at home, maybe they have info clients or they're in the info space and they want to know what a back-end operation of a 7-figure scaling client looks like when it comes to the setting team, when it comes to the sell team. So we're going to be breaking that down and how we helped you with that as well. So do you want to introduce yourself and then we'll get into it?
Yeah, of course. So, my name's Suyfan. I've been growth operating for a couple of months now. It's getting close to a year. I had like a few clients up to this point before joining multiply clients. And then I told Luke, hey, listen, before joining, I need a client before we go forward. He's like, all right, let's do this. And so I think 3 days into the program, actually, no, it was like 2 days into the program.
Yeah,
I landed a client and then did like 125K with him in like 45 days. So that was pretty fun.
Love it. Yeah, I remember talking to you in DM and you were like, look, bro, like I need a good client ASAP. Because I think that was another big thing you were struggling with, is just the quality of client as well. I think especially with growth operating, where you have to be very particular about who you work with. That's very important as well. Because, if the client doesn't have leverage and if the client can't scale, then it's a little bit difficult, right? So we're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be going into that. So like, I guess with that client, who do you specifically help? Just so the viewers can get a bit of context. And then what do you specifically help with? Because a lot of like growth operating, some people might not know, or they might attach it to different kind of variables within a delivery of an agency. So yeah, kind of break it down.
Yeah. So I help content creators just make money with a brand. In this case, it was a day trading offer. So a lot of people in the day trading industry can you can kind of do these numbers with. Yeah. And what I help them with is just the whole backend system. So the offer that I kind of come in with is like, hey, I'll take care of everything for you. All you need to do is make content and teach students, and like I'll just print you cash. Yeah. And for clients like these, that's something that they like to know, because these guys are already making money, right? Like the good guys, like the people that are worthwhile operating for, they're already making good amount of money. They don't need the extra headache to like for mentorships or whatever. They don't need that extra headache. And so if I can take away most of the pain and then just give them the money in exchange, it's a pretty good outcome for them.
Yeah, 100%. And we're gonna go. I think there's 2 parts I want to tap into this interview. One is the sales process, what it's like closing these people, because obviously, like you said there, like the better clients have already got a pretty decent foundation. They're already making kind of a little bit of money, and your job is to go in and scale it and take a profit of that. And I know that was the first thing when we had I think it was our first onboarding call. I was like, dude, like your sales process is shit. Like the pitch deck is like, I don't think it was like you did have a pitch deck or whatever. I was like, dude, like just copy ours. Like this is going to work way better. So like, I want to go into that as well, because I know a lot of people at home, like, how do I sign these people? How do I pitch? And what have you found now pitching and selling a few of these more high level people is like advice you'd give to individuals and what you are struggling with, and now you kind of been able to come over?
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, first of all, coming in with a pitch deck really helped. Before joining up, I actually had I got in a bunch of different sales calls with people that were already relatively doing 30-40K months. And I was like, hey, listen, I've scaled other guys up to more than you are, and I can see that there's a lot of potential here. They didn't want any of it. And off like literally the next sales call that I had with a pitch deck, I closed that guy up like immediately. And so the difference was like kind of crazy. I was still a little bit rough with it, not gonna lie, but you know, I think the pitch deck, because I don't have a lot of closing experience myself.
Yeah.
The pitch deck helped a lot in terms of structuring the call and also just kind of looking a little bit more professional, like,
yeah,
you know what you're talking about. And so I think that really kind of took the whole sales process to the next level.
Yeah, 100%. And then when it comes to like delivery, then obviously you did around 125K in 45 days. Map out that 45-day period then. Like obviously taking a client like on that, that's a massive result that you can now leverage to sign. I know you said like sign a ton of more clients as well, and you're looking to bring them on. So map out what it was like with the client first day of kind of like optimizing the offer, getting the positioning right, because there's a lot of people probably watching this video who are like, look, when I sign a client, I have no idea how to do that. And, you know, that would be fucking really beneficial. So what did this whole like 45-day warpath kind of look like? And what have you learned about scaling info as well in that period?
Yeah. So probably the biggest thing that I had to take away for this was speed. When a new client signs on with you, whether they've taken a setup fee or not, they are always looking at you. As long as you haven't made them money, you look really weak in front of them. And every favor you ask them to do, can you make this for me? Can you do that for me? Everything kind of slowly diminishes the I guess respect or maybe the like authority that you have. And so like the first thing you have to do immediately is establish authority by just making them a bunch of money. And so I think 2 days within signing, we got like our first $6,000 through the door. Because I was just like, I can't afford to let this guy think that I don't know what I'm doing, you know? And so as soon as I got that money through, he's like, whoa, that's crazy. Because at the time he was only doing like 20,000 like US dollars a month with his load get MRR. And so I basically made like 25% of that in like a day. And so he was like, oh, okay, so this guy has something going on. And then after that, it was like just kind of, you know, like honing in the process. So we had this guy's audience was absolutely amazing. Like it's really rare, actually. Yeah, it's really rare to find this kind of audience, but it's also because he built it up so well. And I can get into that in a sec. But after we kind of like had the first few sales, we started developing like a we already had a framework for the sales script, but then we started honing that in with objections and all that stuff. So I had that kind of spread across, like we analyzed that across my different closers and all of that to make sure that, you know, that was all handled beforehand. What else did we do? And yeah, bro, we just like we launched a bunch of like 3 Instagram stories with this guy. I like set them up on the DMs, and we had booked like 40-50 calls in the first 2 weeks or something. And so I think the next week after that, like within the first 14 days, I think we had done close to like 60,000-70,000. So the client was really happy with that, and immediately like he was like, hey bro, are you because he lives like in the next state, right? He lives in Gold Coast. I'm like down in Melbourne. And so he's like, hey man, I'm coming down to Melbourne for the weekend, you want to come out and have dinner? I was like, let's do it. And so we went.
Have you done that or no?
No, I've done that. Yeah.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
And then I was like, that's cool, bro. You mind if we get like a quick testimonial video? And he's like, sure. And so I recorded that with him, and just kind of really solidified the client relationship as well. So yeah,
100%. And you mentioned there about like audience, and this is one of the biggest things I say when like we're taking on info clients or anyone's asking me like, what is a good info product line, who do you want to be working with? And I first of all, like the audience and just like their kind of brand as well. Because especially in the trading space, like we've worked with a few traders as well. It can be very like, are they real? Are they legit? Their audience kind of feels that as well. So like, I guess with that start the process, like, did you know straight away this guy has a great audience? And then how did you kind of plan to first kind of launch with the client? Did it first of all like story sequences, or what were you kind of leveraging off the bat? Setters in there?
Yeah. So I didn't have I didn't know how good his audience was going to be at the start.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot, right? So just to kind of put that into perspective, this guy has like 9,000 on Instagram, 20,000 on TikTok, and then 1,000 on YouTube. And so I was like, okay, well, that's cool. I've got a client with like a bigger following, so I don't know how much money we'll make with him, but like my other client who had double the numbers in pretty much all of those categories, we still did 125K with him, which was a lot more. And like the first 45 days, this is a lot more than we did with the first client. And that was just because of the audience. And so I think there were kind of two factors that really drove a lot of trust within the audience. The first was a podcast. Like he had a podcast on his YouTube channel, and that YouTube only had like 1K, and that podcast would barely like max get like 1K views. But because that podcast was like such long form content, people would just be sitting at work listening to this stuff. And so when it came to them, being mentored, they're like, oh yeah, we'll happily pay, just because they've already spent like 7 hours with this guy essentially. And then the second thing was the fact that this guy was from New Zealand, and when you have like and New Zealand's not a very big country, right? And so when you have such a small niche, like you've got like the trading niche, and then you've got people from New Zealand, right? Like because the circle of the audience size is so small, it's also super specific. And so every person that we were signing on, they all had like super high interest in the trading space. And I've worked with a different trading clients. I've never seen this level of trust with like just one creator. Because generally, like if you're in the online space, you're gonna see a bunch of different traders. You're gonna see traders all over the place. But these guys chose to work with this guy just because he's from New Zealand. And so I think that's something creators can always leverage. Like if you're from a small place in the world, then you should really hone into that, because it really, really plays to the strength of those. And the other thing is that New Zealand, like economically, is not a very strong financial place. So we were a little bit skeptical about the prices we could charge. But like I said, the prices became irrelevant when the trust was so high, like that whole the idea of like, oh, would you buy a Ferrari for $5,000? That's what was going through people's heads. It's like, and so at the end we had to raise prices, because we're like, this is like, we could probably get more out of this.
It's always a good problem to have,
It's always a good, exactly. I think 1 week, like in one day, we did like 15,000 in like sales, and I was like, okay. And I was like, after that point, I was like, okay, bro, we got to raise prices, because that's too crazy. And we were closing like 90 to 100% of our sales in that week. It was insane.
Yeah, dude, that's like if you're for a sales team, if they're closing at least above like even 50% like a high ticket funnel, it's like you could probably be squeezing more with the price, and it's massively powerful when clients do have that long form assets to kind of lean on as well. Like a lot of people are viral just on short form, but man, the power of YouTube, the power of long format is it's next level. Like
it's insane.
Yeah, 100%. And then so I guess with the audience, like you came in, obviously like you had a really, really strong format. When building a sales team, because this is one of the most difficult things you will ever do in info, and I know you had a little bit of problems with that at the beginning, because we audited what you were doing and you were like on WhatsApp and there's all this like weird stuff. Like one, how has it been like just being able to, I guess, talk to me and Harvey at any point, like completely one-on-one, just be like, hey guys, like, is this like it's like, yeah, cool. And then also building the sales team, just like operations, management, making sure close rate's good, sales tool reviews. Like how has that been? And how does that look like on a 7-figure level in info on the back end?
So having access to you guys was really useful. Like, throughout the week, I'd just be like, hey, like I'm running into this problem. And then, we'd go on to the next day. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so kind of resolving problems as they come. Like I said, implementation, like speed to implementation is pretty much everything. The faster you can apply things, the faster you can scale and, overcome hurdles. And so having you guys, like there was quite useful. And so that probably made me a bunch of money rather than and then in terms of operations with sales, so before jumping on, I didn't have anything. Like I didn't even have a sales tracker.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was like, right, this is like we need to fucking redo everything, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's not good. And so after that, I was like, okay, cool. Let's get a sales tracker in here. Let's get all of this stuff. And so like I slowly built things out as they were needed in the offer. So like sometimes the closers needed to follow up on payments and all that. We implemented contracts so that people would continue paying. So by the end of the whole process, we had built out this really, really strong like funnel where after we like even as soon as people jumped on the call, we were starting to ask the right question. We were starting to frame the call the right way because like I said, if like frame of the call immediately is like super, super important. It's crazy. Like we at the start when we didn't have the right frame, we were actually losing out on a bunch of sales. But as soon as we got that frame down, then that was like everything. Anyway, so after that, it was like the onboarding process became smoother, the contracts became smoother, the payment plans also became smoother. So yeah, especially when you're doing so much in sales, payment plans become a headache. But if you if you can kind of like build systems around it to prevent like to keep track of everything, it makes your life a lot easier. And so
yeah, when people first get into managing sales teams for clients, they don't realize how many other variables there are apart from just closing the deal, right? Because even stuff like managing expectations, right? Like you'll find on some sales teams within the info space that a closer's doing really, really well, but they're setting the complete wrong expectations, like about the guarantee, about what they can actually do, about the speed to results. Like you've got to manage so much as you're managing people, right? And people can be unpredictable. People can be, all kind of stuff can happen, right? So I think that's a massive skill that you've been able to learn as well. Is just like how to manage a sales team, how to make sure closers are hitting KPI. And as like you said, when you are booking 5 to 6 calls for your client, 10% of change of short rate of close rate is massive. It's like it costs you 20,000, 30,000 in revenue, so that's massive. And obviously going through this journey of scaling a client from 20K, 125K, if someone was looking to do a similar process, what would be like your 2 biggest pieces of advice that you've kind of learned from doing so?
So if someone's looking to scale to like 30 or 125K, it really just does come down to A, finding the right client, and then B, like building the right offer. You can have like you can take systems from like $1 million companies, but if you don't have those 2 things down, then you won't make a dime. Yeah,
100%. And then I guess like in your kind of info journey, what are you looking to branch out and do now? Like you've got the case study. Like I know that was a big thing beforehand. Is just the journey, get on the client to a similar level, scale the existing clients, maybe chop a few clients that aren't as good. Like what's your kind of journey now? Is it like you've kind of built this, the way I see it is like you've built your skill set. You now need to go bring that case study and build your own organic brand around it as well. Right.
Yeah.
So that's going to be massive as well. I think for you, if you're looking at stuff to do now, it's like, okay, if you want to shoot up acquisition, leverage that case study for sure. But yeah, I'll let you kind of go into it. Like, what do you see now, and how much more confident are you than perhaps where you were?
Yeah, gotcha. So in terms of like going next, so scaling up clients to like minimum $50,000 months. I think that's like the next thing for me. I like, of course, the ideal situation, you're scaling your clients up to 100K months. But that obviously comes with more so the client, like I said, the clients, and then the offer. And so you just got to find the right clients and offer for that. And then like I said, so I've been trying to automate delivery as much as I can. And so I've hired like a VA now, and I try and push off as much as I can so that onto them, so that I can focus on like new acquisition, improving our current funnels and all that stuff. So there's that. And then like next step would just be to start building up the personal brand, and then on top of that, just doing like a ton of outbound DMs, because I think, yeah, like I said, yeah, like you said, the case study is going to be pretty strong with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. And I've heard that's the biggest roadblock that people walk into at the beginning. Is like they do a ton of cold outreach, they do all this, but like they kind of suck at sales and they don't know how to position it, so they don't end up getting the client. I said to you, the first thing I said to you was, look, like once you get this client, and trust me, it's going to be a big one, and you scale them up, you're good. You're pretty much good forever, right? Like, once you've got that case and once you've got that form of leverage, you are so much more above the rest of the market who are struggling. And like, because you were in that position. Like I've been in that position where you feel like no one's listening to you, right? So yeah, you're in a really, really strong position now. And it's definitely sick to see from like first being like, yo, I need this, I need a big client, I need a break, to where you are now and the skills you've kind of got. I guess like the last question I'd have for you is like, anyone on the edge working with us one-on-one, going all in on, scaling info products as well. Yeah. What would you say to them from where you were? And yeah.
Yeah, I would just say to jump in, man. You guys, like the systems that you have provided, like a lot of the stuff that I built that like prevented and then also cured a bunch of headaches that I had scaling this guy up, was just stuff that I kind of like was provided by you guys, like all the sales tracking and all that, and like the pitch deck and everything. That was a lot of help. And then of course, we had like the one-on-one like meetings and all that helps quite a bit as well, in terms of just kind of clearing up questions pretty quickly. And what else? Yeah, that's
I know we're gonna have an ads call as well, so that's gonna be cool. So help you out with that and go from there. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on the channel, guys. If you haven't checked out his stuff, definitely do so. There's a lot of info source. If you are a creator, if you're a coach, definitely hit him up. But I appreciate you coming on the channel.
Thank you.
Have a good one.